Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependummy podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. Now, in your 20s, you're finding yourself exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. Codependency is a way of being where we put the feelings, wants, and needs of others above our own in an unconscious attempt to meet our own feelings, wants, and needs. Sorry to break it to you, sis, but that is not sustainable. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Hey girl, hey, it's me, Marissa. Long time no see. This is episode 156. It is my first solo cast since January. So welcome everyone. Welcome to myself, welcome to you. Today, I am going to make some announcements. I will also be reflecting on ways I've been a codependummy and ways I haven't been a codependummy the past almost year. And we're going to check in with how you're doing and where the podcast is going, given some of the announcements I have to make. And we'll go from there. So, a few reminders. This is Marissa, your hostess mostest. And there is a newsletter for the podcast. You guys can get a link to that in the show notes if you want to sign up for all things codependummy. I also have a journaling resource tool for you called the Confiding Codependummy. It's 30 days of journaling prompts for a less codependent and more conscious you. And there's a freebie in the show notes, the self-validation challenge, and also a way for you to donate money and funds to support the show via a one-time donation securely with PayPal. And if you've been here for a while and you've been thinking about working with me, or if you're new and you're like, damn, this girl's so cool, I want to work with her as a therapist or a coach, or you want to come on the show, you can email me at marissa@codependummy.com. All right. So, baby girl, dear listener, I am curious. It's December 11th. I'm recording a couple days in advance, but this is airing on December 11th, 12/11/2023. How are you doing? I feel like Dora the Explorer because I'm asking and pausing, but I'm going to ask and pause. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How is your body doing? How are your relationships? How's your relationship with yourself? Just taking a couple moments to check in. Let's do a deep breath. Everybody, deep inhale and exhale. I have some water. Let's take a hydration. Take a water break. Water break, everybody. Just good to reflect sometimes, which, yeah, this episode will be about that. So, announcements. Well, the last time I did look back. The last time that I provided a solo cast, that episode aired on January 30th. So yeah. So I have been graced with numerous guests because we've had an episode every week. This is episode 156. Excuse me. And I have been graced with some really amazing guests. And thus, I haven't had the need to do a solo cast when I haven't had a guest for the week. And I also, since January 30th, I have had ideas. I have had strokes of insight. I have been to some great workshops and presentations about psychotherapy and psychology in the field that I've wanted to share. And also, ultimately, I have not wanted to do a solo cast, and I haven't needed to. And I'm here and I'm recording now. I will be honest because I had a guest lined up this week and she had to reschedule. So, and also I have been very proactive with booking guests. And looking ahead, I have some weeks to fill. So I am here today and I likely will be here off and on in the near future, providing you guys with psychoeducation on codependency, with a deeper look at topics related to codependency that we hear about, but maybe needed a more thorough explanation. Boundaries, communication, attachment styles, all those hot button words and pop psychology terms. So I will be here more often in the near future. And yeah, so my second announcement is I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant, pregnant. And I'm almost 29 weeks. I think I knew this before, but still, I'm really learning how pregnancies tend to be around 40 weeks. So I'm about 3/4 there. I got one quarter left to go. I'm rounding third base, headed home. And it's not an excuse, but I think it also explains how and why, since I got pregnant in May, that I haven't also written and recorded a solo cast. Because I was very tired those first couple weeks of the pregnancy. And since the fatigue, it definitely has worn off, but it comes back in waves depending on my hormones. I've been busy. I've been nesting. I've been preparing my practice for my maternity leave. I've been going to doctor's appointments. I have been having difficulty sleeping at times and needing to slow down during the day. And I've also been taking pretty good care of myself. So I have been dedicating a lot of time to daily meditation, daily journaling, daily stretching. Stretching is very important when you're pregnant. Daily exercise, and yeah, really trying to get myself to bed early in hopes that I can set myself up for success to sleep. And as a consequence, with being pregnant and this gracious amount of guests that I've had booked for the podcast, I haven't been here for a solo cast. So I'm due. My guest date is at the end of February. And that's a big announcement. So I don't think I have brought it up. I think I've been mindful when I've had guests on and I haven't said like, oh, BT dubs, I'm pregnant. I wanted to tell you guys directly. And yeah, someone recently, she said congrats. And I was like, how does this girl know that I'm pregnant? Because I haven't posted it on Instagram, because I don't post on Instagram. I just post about the podcast on Instagram. I don't post about my personal life for different reasons. And I haven't talked about it on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube. So I don't know. I had a baby shower, so maybe some of those pictures showed up on her feed, but I didn't even post them. So how does everybody know, you guys, about our private lives when we don't necessarily post about it? I don't know. Yeah, I didn't ask. I could ask, but it's fine. I'm not a celebrity and nothing got leaked. This just probably was a public Facebook post that showed up on her feed. So, yes, I'm pregnant. I'm gonna be a codependent mama or a codependent diamond mama because I'm hoping not to pass all of my codependummy traits to my child. More on that in future episodes, I'm sure. And now to the main event. That wasn't even the main event, that was the main announcement. But I thought that I would spend today reflecting on the past almost year since I did a solo cast and share with you some ways that I have really not been a codependummy. And this, I hope to reflect on ways that I have said no, maintained healthy boundaries, prioritized my needs, not over the needs of others, but just like prioritized my needs ultimately as the biggest priority in my life because it's my life. So I'm going to share about these experiences and give some anecdotes and then provide you with some takeaways and things I have done to make those changes possible in order to help you hopefully do the same. And this is a good exercise, right? It's December 11th. Potentially you're reflecting on the year. I definitely encourage my patients to do some type of reflection activity. I actually sent them one on the 1st of this month. And, just take, I don't know if it could be less than 5 minutes, but maybe 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. It might take longer, but I do really value the taking time to look back on ways you have progressed or changed. And so I guess I'm modeling that for all of you right now. So yeah, I'll give some anecdotes, share some takeaways in hopes that you can do the same type of how have I not been a codependummy in 2023? And, how have I in 2023 to thus empower and develop awareness within yourself to have some positive change, hopefully in 2024. All right. So ways I ultimately haven't been, I was maybe a little codependent, but then I realized it and then I made some changes. So ways I haven't been a codependent in 2023. First and foremost, so I say we, my partner, my husband, and we started trying at the end of trying to have a baby. We were having sexual intercourse, everyone. That's what happens when people say they're trying, means they're having sexual intercourse. And they might be having a lot of sexual intercourse. We were having a lot of sexual intercourse in hopes to have a baby, in hopes to make a baby. And we started like late 2022, and I'm 35. It's time to start trying. If it takes 6 months, we'll look at some medical support and let's just try. I was open, I was flexible, I was chill. And then it didn't happen right away. And then my uterus, I love my uterus. I do. I love her. I was going to say I love her now. I've loved her always. But we had some issues earlier this year. It's like we started trying and all of a sudden she was on strike. She went completely AWOL. It's like, girl, where are you going? What is happening? So we were trying for a couple months, and I did notice sometimes, when I wasn't getting pregnant, when I didn't get pregnant right away, I was worried about what other people would think about me not getting pregnant right away. And like there were feelings and worries about disappointing people. Like, yeah, no, we're not pregnant yet. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, worries about disappointing people or about, being judged by people. Like, oh, you shouldn't have waited so long. You shouldn't have let the pandemic scare you so much, which it did. Like, I definitely didn't try and have a baby during COVID. I know some people did. Some people really. That's where like perspective is so powerful. Because I was like, no, I'm not going to have a baby. And people were like, hell yes, I should have a baby right now. So yeah, I was worried about being or disappointing people, being judged. And thankfully, fairly quickly, thanks to journaling and meditating, I was able to see that old pattern. And I was like hesitant to share with some people. And thankfully, upon reflection, I was able to have a inner dialogue that also took place pen to paper while I was journaling, and just really tell myself, Marissa, this is nothing to worry about. I don't really think that people are going to be disappointed. And I don't think that their disappointment really matters. Your disappointment matters, but you need help right now. You need support right now. And so I didn't completely flip to the other side and start posting about it and talking about it ad nauseum, but I definitely was able to reach out to people to get support. I was willing to talk to some family friends. I was willing to talk to my friends. and just share with people what was happening. And so, yeah, I think that in the past, I, yeah, I would have been so worried about disappointing people and so worried about being judged that that would have inhibited me from sharing more openly about what was happening. But instead, I sought help from safe and supportive others and moved past my fears of judgment and disappointing them. So that was one way that I was not a codependummy. Also, I think it was in February or March, I was navigating my uterus being on strike, and I was going to get, yeah, I was having different appointments. We had to get things checked out. I had a colonoscopy. That was really fun. And yeah, I definitely was anxious and struggling for a certain amount of time. And then I'll talk about it later, but really leaned into self care and was really able to take care of myself. And I was not a codependent dummy when I started to realize in February, as I was making progress, that my therapist and I were no longer a fit. And mind you, I found this woman. I wanted to work with her so badly. I remember being so excited when I found out that she lived and worked in California, because that meant that I could work with her living in California. And we, yeah, we really did some good work together. But yeah, I started to feel better about getting pregnant, and I was making changes and, like I said, taking care of myself. And yeah, we had this one session in particular, and I remember arriving and wanting to share about, like, really wanting to share my progress. Not like, "Oh, therapist, like, please cheer me on," but like to honor and really validate myself for all the hard work I had been doing and the ripple effect that that was having in my life. And so I remember sharing in this session, like, I had this conflict with my husband and I resolved it. And I found out one of my friends was pregnant and I didn't fall apart. And I went to a retreat. I went to a meditation retreat, and like these were some of the insights that I had that I really wanted to carry out in my life, right? That's the thing about retreats. If you guys have ever gone to one, they're so amazing. And then you come home and yeah, you might not be able to maintain the the insights or the realizations that you had, because it's a retreat. Like you're literally like withdrawing into yourself. Anyways, so I was sharing in this session just again to really honor my progress. And I remember my therapist, she was like, "Well, like if you are mad, if you're still mad at your husband, that's okay." And I was like, "But I'm not mad at him," which is the progress, which is the growth. And then, yeah, with my friend who told me she was pregnant, my therapist, she was like, "Well, even if you are jealous, even if you are envious, that's okay." And I was like, "But I'm not jealous or envious. That's the growth." And it was the same with that, with the insights of the retreat. And yeah, she was like criticizing my retreat instructor. It was so bizarre, and like internally I could feel myself out of alignment, right? Sharing my growth that week, hearing her feedback, just a complete contrast and like juxtaposition. I hope that's the right word. And we got off of that session and I was like, ugh, 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 ugh. I couldn't say it. It wasn't that I couldn't say it in the moment. It was that I wasn't able to articulate it yet. So it did take us getting out of the session, me paying attention and being attuned to my body and knowing, oh shit, now I have to talk about this in our next session. And I remember I shared with probably my older sister, probably shared it with my twin sister, maybe even like a mentor. And I remember saying the thing that is bothering me the most this week or causing me the most mental upset, right? The thing I need to talk about in therapy this week is therapy. I have to talk about therapy. And it wasn't just this one session, but this one session was extremely emblematic of the contrast I'd started to notice. I was making strides. I was changing my perspective. I was taking care of myself after I was like really anxious about getting pregnant in like late December, January. And I was really having a hard time coping with my uterus being on strike. And yeah, my therapist, like, she was really there for me then, and she was encouraging me to take care of myself. And then I started to do that. And then she was like, you can't be feeling this good this quickly. Yeah, that was like another like theme that I noticed from her. And so I went to the next session and I had talked about it. I had journaled about it. I had meditated about it. And yeah, we logged on and I said to her, I want to spend today's session talking about taking a break. And I would like to start taking a break after today's session. And I like looked at her, like not like intensely, but I did it, right? The ovaries to do and say that as a codependent dummy. I have worked with therapists for years when things were off, months minimum. And here I was noticing things were off, maybe for a couple weeks, and then having this very clear contrast. Like I felt like this felt sense in my body in the next session, like being able to tell her. And I I I really was able to sit with her for our 50-minute session and say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm needing, this is what I'm wanting. And I don't sense that's being offered here. So it wasn't accusatory. It wasn't convincing her that it was okay for me to take a break. It was this conversation. I say like lovely. It was like this lovely conflict, this lovely tension because yeah, she was like, "Well, what about this?" or you know, I can't remember, but it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy, but it was I was in alignment with what I was thinking, feeling, needing, wanting, and saying. And so, yeah, and then we had some parameters. Like I was like, I'll check in a month, let you know how I'm doing, let you know if I want to pick up again, right? Because I wasn't like 100% sure that we were done. What if I fell apart that month? It was possible. And yeah, I said, I'll reach out in a month, if not sooner. And yeah, she gave me her blessing. And I reached out to her a month later and, kind of checked in with like my heart and my head and how things had been going that month and all the things I had put in place to really take care of myself kept going. And so I said, "Hey, I'm doing well. There's no need to revisit starting over again." Yeah, maybe I was like, I'll check in again in like a month. I can't remember if I did a 2-month check-in, but I just said I'll check in again as needed. And there really was not a need, thankfully. I have since started working with a perinatal therapist. That's someone who specializes in the mental health of women who are pregnant up to 1 year postpartum. So 1 year after having the baby, because I'm a mental health um, provider and advocate, and I'm totally biased, but I think I should be in therapy more of the time than I'm out of therapy. So, yeah, I did start with a perinatal therapist, which has been great. So, yeah, I was not a codependummy with my brilliant, very reputable and highly trained. Her fee, it was definitely an investment. Like this therapist, she really did ask a lot of me, like in a good way. She like challenged me in a good way. But ultimately, I found that it wasn't a great fit, and I did not let that sentiment continue to fester while I met with her. So I was not a codependummy with my former therapist. Um, Also, okay, so there's 2 more ways I wasn't a codependummy, 4 total. So 2 more. Number 3, this summer, I was not a codependummy when dealing with a mental health concern of a beloved family member. And I feel like in years past, I easily could have been swept up and become controlling, overbearing, overly concerned, and like just like I could have like been the nurse for my family, like my mom, my dad, my older sister, my twin sister, and like all of our partners. But yeah, there was a mental health concern. It was temporary, it was time limited, and thankfully, because of my background as a licensed psychotherapist, I was able to spot it and address it and like encourage the seeking of resources for it, but also I didn't get swept up in it. And yeah, like part of me while it was happening, I was like, am I like being like too detached or disconnected? Like, am I like, why am I so chill while this is happening? It was serious, but at the same time, I think that thankfully, there are, yeah, like partners were supportive, and my family member was open to my feedback, input, and perspective on what was happening. And so I was calling to check in. I was looking at my diagnostic and statistical manual, the DSM, which is like, the Bible of all mental health concerns. So I was reading up on that. I was looking up the side effects of certain medications and yeah, like calling daily and trying to be present and supportive and also like help explain things to help people in my family better understand what was happening. But yeah, I didn't like freak out. So I am very proud of myself for how I handled it. And yeah, I also didn't like I wasn't like super like it was just like healthy boundaries. So it wasn't porous boundaries where I'm doing all the things. It wasn't rigid boundaries like people can take care of themselves. And it's like that's true, but like I love this person and I want to help and this is how I can show up. And yeah, just trying to be consistent overall with my contacting them and understanding that this is temporary and yeah, really trying to support them in their own self-care. So, I was not a codependummy with a family mental health concern. Go me. And lastly, I was not a codependummy when it came time to plan my baby shower. Actually, I think I don't know. I might talk about it, but I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But I planned my older sister's baby shower back in 2021. I was like the leader, but we had a lot of hands on deck. And long story short, I have shared this with my older sister, but by the end of her party, it was huge. It was huge and just it was a lot of work. And yeah, by the end of the party, I hated her and I hated everyone involved in planning because it was so stressful. And I was such a codependent. I was controlling, I was putting the needs of others above my own. My boundaries were like not that great or like overly assertive and then like overly porous. Yeah, I was a hot codependent mess planning that shower. And so when it came time to plan my shower, I applied a lot of wisdom. And I really had the intention to not stress, not overwork, not mm, not to not hate everyone by the end of the event. So I have a couple mentors. I'm very blessed to have some mentors. And one of my mentors, she's extremely generous. And when I told her I was pregnant, she graciously offered to host my baby shower at her beautiful home, which I was not expecting, but that was I was like, oh my God. And she's like, yeah, like, it'll be perfect. And yeah. So she offered that. And then at the same time, I was already planning to my mom and my older sister, they planned the bulk of it, but I definitely wanted to help with some input and preferences. And so I did share with my mom and older sister that I wanted to see, excuse me, about hosting it at a lovely banquet room nearby. Because again, using the wisdom not only from my older sister's shower, but just from family parties my parents have hosted a lot at their home historically, and they've thrown lovely parties. We've had lovely gatherings. There's so much connection and community and conviviality when it's just fun. It's just fun to host and have people over. And but it's also, for me, it has been historically very stressful for me. And it's ordering the chairs and tables, it's setting up the chairs and tables, it's ordering the food, it's picking up the food, it's putting out the food, ordering the drinks, it's making the drinks, it's cleaning the house the day before, the day of, it's taking the party down afterwards. It's people asking questions like, "Where's the bathroom?" Or like, "Do you have this beverage?" Or, "What? That's what we're eating?" And it's just like, "Oh my God, like people, like, you're just shut up." So, historically, it's stressful for me, right? Um, it's stressful for me. My sister's shower was stressful for me. And so I wanted to look at potentially hosting it at a banquet room to avoid like 90% of that, right? If you go to a banquet room, the chairs and tables are provided. The setup is done. They serve the food, they serve the drinks, they take away the plates, they do the cleanup, they do the breakdown, they refill your drinks. There's a bathroom there that people use that you don't have to clean. There's no table and chair pickup before and after. Like, it's all included. It's all included. It's like an all-inclusive resort. So I got this offer from my mentor to have it hosted at her home. And I started to look at some local banquet rooms. And one thing that is beneficial about hosting it at, if I had hosted it at my parents' house or my mentor's house, is you do save money, right? I mean, if you use a banquet hall, they tend to charge a certain amount to also pay their staff, to make a profit, to other restaurant costs involved that I am not privy to. But yeah, it's not like they're charging exactly the cost that they have to host a party. They charge a little more because they're making a profit. And so I contacted some banquet rooms, and I had my mentor's offer to host at her home. And I started to do some math, and it was like, okay, well, if we host it at my mentor's house, we would have to get tables and chairs. We'd have to set it up ourselves. I don't know. I don't have like a crew of like random event people, or like, I think I could have recruited enough cousins and family members, but still, it's like it's a party and we're hosting it. So, anyways, order the tables and chairs. Like I said, order the food, order the drinks. I would have wanted to hire someone to help clean. And so maybe someone to help clean before, maybe someone there during to help clean, and definitely someone after to help clean. So that is a cost. And I yeah, we'd have to think about like the decorations and the the dessert, the drinks, setting up a bar area, the music, the speaker, just all these details. And also we wanted to have some fun and games. So I did some math. And then one of the banquet rooms that I really, really liked, I did the math with that. And yeah, comparing the two, the banquet room was slightly more expensive. Let's say like 200 or 300 more dollars expensive. And which is significant. That is significant, and I think that that is why in the past, historically, my family has favored to host at our home to save. We wanna save. I've talked to you guys about my frugality, thanks to my paternal grandpa and my dad, and I'm a codependummy with money, wanting to please and meet their expectations with saving and being frugal and not spending a lot of money. And so, yeah, that's definitely like a motive for how and why we've hosted so many parties at my parents' for big events like baby showers. And yeah, comparing the two, I thought about it, reflected on it. I talked to my husband, my older sister, and I ultimately concluded, and I was happy to pay the difference, but I ultimately concluded that a $200 or $300 more investment, or yeah, paying $200 or $300 more was an investment in my peace of mind that I was ready, willing, and thankfully able to choose. Of course, I mean, I'm having a baby. I could use $200 or $300. And also, I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm learning from these past parties. And not only have these past parties stressed me out in the typical steps that it takes to host a party, but for me, there tends to be more stress in my family. There tends to be more conflict towards the end. And because of the money that we wouldn't save, but the time we would save, the energy we would save, and the harmony and cohesion that we would maintain because we wouldn't be hosting it and being all stressed out and likely fighting and arguing. Yeah, I really saw that choosing to host at a banquet room was what was best for my peace of mind. And so I shared this with my mom and my older sister, and they thankfully supported my decision. And I was scared. I was nervous to tell my mentor, thank you, but no thank you, because it was such a gracious offer. And at the same time, I can't host my baby shower at a place in an environment that would have caused me so much more distress, um, in order for her to not be upset with me, right? To not I yeah, I didn't wanna, I didn't want her to feel rejected or like I was ungrateful, which I wasn't. I was very grateful, but I was able to tell her, "We've decided to host at a banquet room." And yeah, she definitely had her opinion, which was not neutral, and I completely understood. And also, I just, like a broken record, I said, "Yeah, I hear you, and we have decided to host at a banquet room." And she came, of course she came, and 50 other women came, and it was a beautiful event. And yeah, it really it wasn't, it was an investment. It's a baby shower. It does cost money, but like it wasn't that much money And I did help contribute in other ways with the entertainment and the fun and the deposit. And the room itself was beautiful, so we didn't have to worry that much about decorations. And I showed up when at 11 when it started. And yeah, there was no setup and there was no cleanup and there was no refilling the drinks because there were waiters to do that. And there was no serving the food or collecting the trash or cleaning the bathroom or just all these things. And like my family, we were cohesive and harmonious. And it was so fun. I feel like my mom got to enjoy it. My sister got to enjoy it. Not saying that they don't enjoy other parties, but yeah, they were directing, they weren't hosting. And they were the host, but yeah, they were just like directing like, "Hey, we're ready to eat," or "Hey, we need more drinks," or "Hey, we're ready for X, Y, or Z." So, yeah, so I yeah, overall, I'm very grateful for how it turned out. And yeah, put my needs first. While also having theirs in mind, but like trying to collaborate and negotiate rather than just cater to their preferences to probably host it and save money. And um and yeah, for my mentor to host it at her house. So I was not a codependummy with planning my baby shower. So some takeaways. Um First, I yeah, thankfully with the self-consciousness I had about not getting pregnant and with my things being off with my therapist, I think that I was able to move past my self-consciousness and also confront my therapist because I like made a serious commitment to myself as I have, but I feel like it was like deeper earlier this year and it's still deep, but I really have committed to meditating daily, journaling daily, stretching daily, attending retreats. I've been attending more retreats in person and both online, just taking a couple days to withdraw within myself. I've been saying no to things in order to slow down and really help my body, help my baby, help myself. And I've been prioritizing time with friends. So lots of walks with friends, which what do you do when you go on walks with your friends? You talk and you process and you reflect and yeah, you have insights. And so, yeah, really being intentional about setting up time to go walking, go out to eat. Um, yeah, like set up calls with my friends who aren't nearby, but really, really trying to prioritize those connections. I also, yeah, and reflecting on what happened with my family, I'm doing a lot better with sharing my love and support, but not being overly involved or overly worried when people are struggling. It's okay for people to like I've struggled. I struggled earlier this year. And yeah, thankfully I don't think any of my family members were like super involved in a good way, like overly concerned, but just sharing their support and love. And so yeah, I think my boundaries and like understanding of my own limits with how much I can and can't help people has shifted. Um, I am getting better at learning that it's really okay to say no. And sometimes like I feel like we're like, say no. Like it's okay to say no to a like an extra task at work that someone else can do. Or it's okay to say no to, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't know, like some request from your parents, like something more negative. it's easier to say no to, but with my mentor, right, I keep saying this like gracious offering to have my baby shower at her house. Like that was so generous. And it's okay, right, trying to heal from our codependency to say no to very gracious offers and opportunities if it ultimately is out of alignment with what we are thinking, feeling, wanting, and needing. And then last takeaway is I mentioned this, but I'm letting go of my codependummy money stories. Um right, so always trying to save, always trying to always trying to mm, always trying to what's the word? Like fit within like the limits that my dad and my grandpa have encouraged when it comes to spending, which I'm so like my mom has talked about how when her and my dad were first married or early on their relationship, my dad put like a spending cap, like he put her on a budget, and she was like, oh, and then she was like, but we bought a house. so, so right, so like these, like they're like these beliefs that I've been raised with, like really trying to be frugal, trying to be mindful of your spending, really trying to save, right, and to like think about the long game. Like those are all such good things, but me being a codependummy, like I just like took those rules and like ran to an extreme with them where I was extremely frugal. Like I've heard like anorexic with money, right? Just like not wanting to spend anything on myself or like really want to like spend anything on anything. So anyways, I'm letting go of my codependent money stories that make it easier for me to invest in myself and look at things like they are, like some things that seem like luxuries, but for me they're a necessity. And that's okay. It's okay if sometimes what we spend our money on seems to be a luxury, but it's really a necessity for you and your peace of mind. So, those are the ways I haven't been a codependent the past time as that came to mind as I was writing this, and some takeaways. So, thank you for listening. And I encourage you to do some type of reflection on your own. And yeah, it's important to reflect on the experiences and also the takeaways. So I hope that modeled to you well. And be prepared because, like I said, I've had tons of guests, but I will be here off and on the next few weeks before I go on maternity leave at the end of January. I'm planning to take a 1 or 2 month break from the podcast. I don't know what that will look like. I don't know if I want to be like concrete about what it will look like because there's going to be a baby and all my plans might just like be obliterated. So yeah, so I might just have you guys listen to old episodes while I'm gone. I might post old episodes, like cool podcasts. They do like a throwback, flashback, whatever. So maybe I'll do that. Or I might just come on and do a recording, but more raw and uncut. So not with the intro or the outro, because that I have to ask my editor to do that, and that just takes time. And I gotta stay notice and things during maternity leave to maintain my sanity. So we'll see. But I will be here off and on until the end of January, when I definitely take a break for maternity leave. And I just want to encourage you lastly, the past 10 months, like with all this self-care, I think one way that you could describe what I've been doing is really like mothering myself, like really taking good care of myself. Like, okay, Marissa, like we're going to meditate now. Like, okay, Marissa, we're going to journal. Okay, Marissa, it's time to stretch. It's time to stretch, baby girl. Oh, let's cut up your banana for your oatmeal. But really, really trying to mother myself. And I'm mothering my baby in my womb. And I hope that you can, maybe it'll be helpful for you to have that perspective this upcoming week to mother yourself and reflect on ways you have or haven't been a codependummy and takeaways from those experiences. Oh, bless me. All right, baby girl, I will see you next week. Take care. Hey girl, it's Marissa again. I'm not like a regular podcaster, I'm a cool podcaster, right? Thank you for listening and staying till the end. You can find me on Instagram at Therapy with Marissa. Email me, marissa@codependummy.com. Check out codependummy.com for more information on the show. And baby girl, a subscribe, rating, and review would be much appreciated. Till next time, I want you to remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. I want you to go out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. And now, the disclaimer. Girl, this is not therapy and I am not your therapist. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, publisher, or guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional service. If you want or need a professional, please find one.